The build-up to a final boss is almost as important as the confrontation itself. You want to feel not only the weight of everything that's at stake, but to feel that you're about to reach the peak of every challenge that the hero has overcome so far. This is the last obstacle, the only thing standing in the way to accomplishing the goal and bringing an end to whatever has to be stopped. This is it, the final battle. And Bleach handles that build-up beautifully, with Ichigo's ascent to the throne room and the giant doors with Yuabaha waiting on the other side, which allows for a final moment of preparation between Ichigo and Orihime, the only friend that's still able to be by his side at this point. Because yeah, I don't think I talked about it in the analysis yet, but Chad and Ganju ended up holding off these giant golem things, because why have Chad do anything interesting in this arc, I guess? It doesn't seem like we're gonna see any of that fight, but it didn't seem interesting anyway, so whatever. Sorry, Chad, you deserve more. Or just something. Anything. He couldn't have fought a Sternritter, any Sternritter. There were like 26 of them. He couldn't have taken on a single letter. Instead, we have to spawn these fodder enemies to occupy Chad. I'm sure defeating them will be a big contribution to saving the whole universe. I'm sure. Anyway, thankfully, the little scene between Ichigo and Orihime is wonderful when Ichigo asks her to protect him. Not only is this powerful because he's usually the one protecting everyone, and he's now asking for someone to do that for him, but it really is the pinnacle of what Orihime has been as a character. Like Ichigo, she's a natural protector, and considering her abilities are about defense and healing, it's something she's maybe the most all-around suited for out of anyone. And she's tried so hard throughout the whole series to be helpful and to be able to safeguard Ichigo like he has for her, and now she finally gets that chance when it matters most, and I love that so much. It feels right that Orihime is the one walking into battle with him, ready to help however she can. And yes, there's the underlying romantic angle of it all, and I've been rooting for these two ever since her confession, so yeah, so good. Love this. And then our hero enters to take on our final villain. Unless Aizen is the secret final villain, there's still time. We've had Ichigo and Yuabaha face off before, a couple times now throughout the arc to varied results, but none of those have ended with Ichigo beating him, which is pretty expected, but it's interesting to look back on the track record of these battles. The first time that these two clashed, Ichigo didn't just get walloped physically, but then got utterly destroyed mentally and emotionally when Yuabaha revealed that Misaki was a Quincy, making Ichigo part Quincy as well, a revelation to him and to me that spiraled into a whole lot of self-discovery for Ichigo after recovering from the shock. The second time they faced off, which was extended in a really fun way for the anime, that led to Ichigo doing a bit better until Yuabaha activated the Almighty, so he not only beat Ichigo but also forced him to finish off the Soul King as well, thanks to the Quincy blood coursing through him. It was a mess. Ichigo definitely didn't win that fight. And going into this, I'm sitting here like, okay, Yuabaha is already extremely strong to begin with, and now he's reabsorbed most of his Quincy's, right? Every time they died, he would absorb them, and sometimes before they died, unfortunately for them. And he's also absorbed the Soul King, so he's even stronger, and depending on the manga or the anime, he's absorbed all of Mimi Hagi too, and oh yeah, he can see the future. So how are we supposed to beat him? It seems appropriately unfathomable that we stand a chance, which is how a final fight against the big bad guy should feel, I suppose. It should feel insurmountable, so that our hero can surmount it. I will say that I've found how Yuabaha has been utilized in this last half or quarter of the Thousand Year Blood War to be low-key fascinating. Early in the arc, we saw Yuabaha getting into the mix, leading charges, and walking across the battlefield and all of that, up until he gained the power of the Soul King, and since then, he's mostly just been sitting on his throne while his subordinates had the battles. besides when Lil Toto and Gigi went after him, but that lasted like all of 5 seconds, so Yuabaha kind of sitting out the recent fights might seem disappointing to some, but I honestly think it helped to emphasize his new position after absorbing the Soul King. He's become this almost untouchable, unreachable being, much like how the Soul King was originally portrayed, and it helps to emphasize that by having him not participate, because it all feels beneath him. Yuabaha has reached the top that Aizen was talking about way back when. He is seated above all, and now Ichigo Kurosaki has climbed up to reach him. Does that mean Ichigo can win? Not necessarily. Before they fight, I loved Ichigo being pissed off when Yuabaha referred to him as son, which he did when he first revealed he was a Quincy too, reminding him that he's descended from his power in a way. But Ichigo naturally is like, you're not my dad, and you killed my mom, and that's when Yuabaha really pushes his buttons by saying Masaki served her purpose by giving birth to Ichigo and then being nourishment for her king. And that's just something you shouldn't say, obviously, but says a lot about Yuabaha's perspective. I don't know if he was intentionally trying to set Ichigo off, or if he really just thinks that little of her and was speaking bluntly. Could be both. He seems to have thought of his subordinates in a similar way, considering what he just did to even Haschwald. So Ichigo rushes into this fight, and it was cool to see that through Ichigo's angry strikes, he was still being protected by Orihime. I live for that kind of stuff, where you're a combined effort handling things all at once, but dealing with different aspects of the fight. I'm excited to see how that's translated into the upcoming anime episodes, but after this little chat, when Yuabaha gets up from his seat, yes, he's been sitting this whole time while he's been being attacked, that's when the real fight begins. This image of Yuabaha rising to his feet as just this storm of darkness on his throne is wonderful. Points for keeping his beautiful mustache untouched. How else would we know that that's Yuabaha anymore, if not for the stash? And for a little while there, it really seems like Ichigo's just blindly rushing him again and again out of pure anger, just throwing himself at Yuabaha, which we know Ichigo sometimes has a tendency to do in the past. But Orihime notices something when she makes eye contact with him, and she could see that he wasn't actually in a blind rage, that there was a reason for it. And I'm like, oh, I loved Ichigo being smart here. He wasn't blindly charging the Quincy King after all, as understandable as it would be to do that. No, this was just a ruse because our boy actually had a real plan. The more he drenched his blades with Quincy energy by attacking Yuabaha, the closer he was to awakening his own hollow powers inside him. He needed to make himself unbalanced to call upon the forces inside his soul, and once he does, he transforms in a very interesting way. At first glance, he almost looks similar to when he was taken over during his fight with Ukiura, and also the original White that, attacked Masaki. And it was cool to have Orihime recognize that too, and be reminded of that unfortunate trauma. That had been such a horrifying time for her, so it makes sense for her to still feel that, but no, Ichigo isn't overtaken or out of control like he was then. Despite the hollow horn coming from his head, it is still Ichigo. Visually, he's half himself and half hollow, and he looks a hell of a lot like when White, the true Zangetsu, merged with Ichigo's Quincy side way back. Now clearly a foreshadowing of what a balanced Ichigo could look like. Typically, whenever Ichigo's hollow side came out, you'd get the hollow mask manifesting in various ways depending on his level of control, or fully taking possession like when he was against Ukiura, but here we get to see what that power looks like if Ichigo's in the driver's seat. It's more than just using the power. The hollow mask's usage made it clear that Ichigo was only wearing this power then, putting on a temporary visage. But here, it's actually truly a part of him from the inside out. He's not having to hide himself behind a mask to let the hollow power solidify, and he's not losing himself entirely. He's just tapping into his own abilities, which just happen to be hollow and Quincy powers, using the parts of himself that he's finally accepted, that he can finally wield fully. While the design change is pretty on the nose and simple in a way, I actually really love that about it. It wears what it represents with pride because it further emphasizes the importance of balance within the series. Balance is so much of what Bleach has been about, and I'm not just talking about Yugram Hashval. Ichigo Kurisaki's journey throughout the series has been finding new parts of himself through tragedy and growth, and understanding every aspect of his own being, parts of himself that seemed diametrically opposed, sometimes literally, and all of that internal struggle has been mostly resolved and is now being used as a strength. He's fully able to be himself and to fight as himself, every part of himself. We already set up the very emotional aspect of Ichigo's two Zanpakuto blades when they were forged, and that point is only driven further home here as one of the blades turns white when he triggers his hollow side to come out. So with one sword white and one sword black, all while his hollow side has emerged on half of his body, the visual of Ichigo's balance is clear as day. This is who he is, and he embraces both sides and all parts of himself. And in this form, Ichigo is putting up much more of a fight, and it's awesome to see them really clashing. And you've got Ichigo now combining his Getsuga Tensho with a huge Sero. I mean, come on. That's just so fucking cool. But despite all of this, Yuabaha isn't going down easily. He's literally setting up traps because of his foresight, where he knows where his enemy's gonna be, stuff like that. So fighting someone that knows what's gonna happen kind of makes it really difficult to fight them. But even when things seem a little bit hopeless and Yuabaha's like, "Are you giving in to despair?" Ichigo has this moment that I think really sums up a lot of his character, where it's shown that Ichigo understands despair. Ichigo Kurosaki has had many rainy days, but he's always made it through them. He not only understands despair, but he understands how to push through it even more. It's a reminder of the kind of person he really is, the kind that never gives up, and it's the perfect way to set up his Bankai as he puts his two swords, the two halves of his soul, together as they are combined into a large singular blade, much like the different aspects of him are balanced as one now, much like his parents coming from two completely separate worlds combined to create something new. It's amazing. It's such a hype moment. The sword looks really cool, and I just love the fact Ichigo's got a giant sword. The dual wielding was really cool, don't get me wrong, but come on. Ichigo wields a giant sword, and he's finally got a giant sword again. It's incredible. And then with the turn of a page, Kubo shatters that hype in an instant by showing Ichigo's new big Bankai blade snapped in half. His Zanpakuto breaks instantly. Did any of you grow up reading Captain Underpants where there was the Fliporama? It echoes his blade being destroyed earlier in the war, like it's saying that all of this growth since then, right after he learned the truth about himself, that, he's really had to deal with this whole arc, everything that's happened since then doesn't change anything. This defeat is inevitable, and all of his efforts are futile. But how did this happen? He didn't sense Yuabaha do anything, we didn't see him break the blade, but there's no question that the Zanpakuto broke. It's right there. It happened. It turns out that the secret of the almighty power that's been hinted at is that it's even more powerful than it initially seemed. Yuabaha doesn't only see the future, but can alter it however he likes, and this whole conversation and explanation was wild. He lays it out like this. We all have the ability to change the future, right? By making decisions in the present that change what happens next. We can't see what's coming, but our decisions affect what we're going to eventually see, but we're limited to the here and now as far as our perception, and as far as what we can change. We are blindly moving through time, just hoping for the best outcome based on what we do. But Yuabaha can see all of the possible outcomes, and then shift them however he wants. So he snapped Ichigo's blade in the future, so then it came to pass, and he suddenly had Ichigo's horn because he broke that in a future, and he can get around Orihime's barriers by altering the future. This whole scene does a great job of displaying just how hacks his abilities are. Like, I already thought he was unstoppable before, and with this, It just feels like the heroes have zero chance, which is a perfect place to put them in this moment. It feels properly impossible to win, because how the hell do you fight someone who's already altered the future events? And the way Yuabaha talks about how someone believing they can alter the future is hope, all while Kubo gives us hope only to rip it away. It's all so effective. Ichigo is at the mercy of Yuabaha's future, while we're at the mercy of Kubo's keyboard. Only he can see the future of the story and alter it according to his will. Oh yeah, and that's when Yuabaha also takes back the Quincy powers within Ichigo, which led to, the past couple of videos I've talked about the Ausfallen that's taken out Hoshfalt, Gerard, that this is the moment when that happened. This Quincy power is something that was passed to Ichigo from his mom and is such a key ingredient to his personal makeup, a key part of his soul. And it was so powerful to really show that he was losing that connection. It wasn't as much about the power itself as it was about losing a crucial part of himself, a tether to who his mom really was, to the truth of his own existence. And that's just fading away, turning white, being bleached. And Ichigo, despite understanding despair, has never felt this utterly hopeless. He doesn't see a way to win anymore, and all of that hope, that belief that he can change the future that Yuabaha was talking about, all of that is gone now. He's lost any spark of hope left, and it's hard not to. He's up against something so far beyond anyone. Despite Renji and Rukia coming to try to help, Yuabaha leaves to go lay waste to the Soul Society and to the world of the living, while Ichigo is this broken shell with so little left inside of him now. It's always hard to see Ichigo like this, but especially here at the end, when the stakes have never been higher. Losing this particular fight means losing everything, and Kubo does a great job making you feel that through Ichigo's reaction and through Yuabaha's confidence that the future will be the one that he makes. It feels hopeless. The future is written, and I don't like the ending, Not even Orihime is able to fix this, as her rejection powers can't repair a blade that was destroyed in the future. I'm still wrapping my head around all of that. A lot of timey-wimey stuff. And then when Ichigo is once again at his absolute lowest, he is suddenly stabbed, and the blade doesn't draw any blood. We've seen something like this before in the Lost Agent arc. Yeah, and I got so excited. Tsukishima! I knew it. I knew he'd help, because you need him to change the past. And he can do that. He could probably do that better than... Oh my god. He's coming in clutch, Cousin Shu. So he's stabbing Ichigo. He's going to change Ichigo's past. He's going to fix the sword, because Orihime can't. So good. Ichigo was stabbed by his cousin, Tsukishima. And it really only makes sense that someone that's been in the series since the very beginning of Bleach is here at the end as the true main character returns to help his family. But guys, seriously, you know how much I love Tsukishima, so seeing him arrive in such a clutch way for his return is wonderful. It's kind of fitting to see the man responsible for the last time Ichigo was this broken be the one to put him back together this time. Because Tsukishima is able to use his past altering powers to make it possible for Orihime to repair the sword, which is huge. That was really awesome, and this is super cool, and I'm glad Tsukishima did something so important, but I have to ask, as far as the Fullbringers go, is this it? It's amazing, don't get me wrong, but it kinda seems like this is all they're here for, and again, it's a great moment, but Kubo teased the dead Fullbringers coming back forever ago, and I've been asking what happened to that and where they are ever since, because they've been entirely absent since that original tease. I'm not saying the Fullbringers had to come back and have their own fights against the Quincy Royal Guard or anything, but I kind of thought they'd get a little bit more of a moment as a group, or even individually, but it ends up really with just Tsukishima doing something really helpful, which is great. And yes, he's only doing it because Ginjo told him to, which feels true to what we know about them, but Ginjo seems to just kind of be here for moral support only. And I do love that it's a moment of him repaying Ichigo, but when it comes to paying off what Kubo set up for the Fullbringers coming back, Giriko isn't even here. Where's Giriko? I don't see Giriko. Is he still going to show up? Is he going to be the real key? This has nothing to do with the training they were apparently undergoing with Ganju, so it really doesn't feel like a big payoff to that setup. I don't know, maybe they'll help out more in these last handful of chapters, but I can't imagine it's much, and I don't think Giriko of all people is going to get substantial page time now in these final chapters. Although he is a master of timing, I suppose it's possible. So it was really hype, and I do love it, but that comes with a little bit of an asterisk as someone that really likes the Fullbringers and wanted them to play a larger role. Obviously, the anime could make some huge additions or something to this, I suppose, but I'm not really sure how they would go about that. With the events going on and what we have in Core 4 left, what could we have them do? They could join in on the big fight against Gerard Valkyrie, I guess. I guess we could do that. Just have Ginjo take a few swings or something, or maybe Giriko tries to take on Gerard only to get cut in half by Kenny in the crossfire. Or hey, maybe we can have them help Chad with those random golems. I hope they give them a little something more than this, because as this stands, it's a great moment for my cousin, but also kind of feels like Kubo forgot that he teased their return and finally remembered, so threw them in, and not even all of them. I'm torn. But damn, it's a really awesome moment, and Tsukishima's always great, and I'm glad to have him in my life, and to have had him be such a good friend all these years. So we're left with Ichigo getting a second wind to jump back into the fight with his repaired sword, but I'm just trying to figure out how he's going to win. He's got to, right? He's the hero. This is the end of the series. We have to defeat Yuabaha. But how do you beat someone like this at this point? Yes, your big new Bankai is repaired and all that, but how will this go any differently if Ichigo jumps back into the fight? Can't Yuabaha just snap his blade in the future again? It's just hard to imagine how Ichigo can actually win, but now that Tsukishima created, a kind of a tether to the past for that sword, can Orihime repair it based off that from now on? I don't know. It's just hard to imagine how Ichigo can actually win, but then again, maybe that's because I can't see the future. That's where we're stopping for now, guys. We only got a few chapters left of the series. I'm super excited to see how it's going to end. Yeah, should be interesting. Great final fight so far. A lot of fun moments within. Tsukishima's back, but probably not going to be doing much else besides this. Great timing, man. That was very, very clutch save. Yeah, that'll do it for now. And we'll finish off this final battle, hopefully next video if it ends then, but we still got a few chapters left, and I'm sure that they're gonna contain a lot within them, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see. When this does get adapted into the anime, I do hope we get more Fullbringer action, and I'm excited to see just the fight and action, and Orihime protecting Ichigo. We could have little additions to the fight, I suppose, but I hope they keep the suddenness of that blade snapping, though. I hope that feels just like it did when I turned that page. That was awesome. Just instant. Just nothing. Just immediately. Anyway, as always, if you want to see more, you can check out the Patreon, where I have hours and hours of manga read-along and anime episode reactions. And as always, thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting the channel. I'll see you guys next time as we really, really get toward the end of Bleach. Take care. Bye.